and I've been tracking things like the health insurance on a monthly basis. And, you know, we're continuing to see people have life changes and, come on to our insurance. So that, you know, we've had people just steadily every month come on our, health insurance for various reasons. In October, two people, non-certified people lost Husky coverage and they're entitled to come on to single coverage. And people that got married, people, had children, that sort of thing. It's just been a steady increase in that line. And then the transportation took a while to settle down with a couple of students, finding the right, support to get them and get everybody happy on the vehicle and to school. We've had some challenging situations that have taken a lot of time here from the support services staff and a lot of work from M&J to find the right mix of drivers and staff and people to get these kids where they need to be.
Yeah. Magnet school.
Yeah,
So we must have had more kids go into magnet school than we
yeah, it's just,
than we thought.
it had been declining consistently since about the time Paul came here, and now we hit the bottom and started up. It also includes about 35,000 of special ed tuition, so that if a student enrolls in the in a magnet school, we have to pay the tuition for, and they have any services, we have to pay the full cost of that bill.
So is it safe to assume that you have to pay the magnet school tuition, one payment up front?
Yes. But it took a while, and people didn't know, I think it took a while for us to know where kids were. I mean, you know, it's not. I think the process of where they enrolled was not really identified till September or so.
I just see that we've paid a certain amount and you don't see us anymore. You don't see a change. So that's why I
Unless
just.
student needs any specialized services
Right.
were added.
Yeah, it could be that could still grow if there is more special ed needs out there.
But that's magnet school.
Yeah, but we have to pay the
Any services they need. So in other words, if a special ed student goes to the magnet school, we pay for their tuition. Plus, if they needed a one-on-one, if they need reading support, if they anything above and beyond the traditional program, we have to pay for that. So if it involves any sort of paraeducator, we're paying for a portion of that paraeducator.
So I feel like our magnet school, like we were trending down. So does this number really reflect more of a
Yes.
special ed need, or it's just the trend in general? Of
I
magnet
think
school is
there
going
was
up?
a surprise number of new sixth graders.
Yeah, I know a few parents that sent their kids to magnet school going into middle school.
And I don't know that,
There was the talk of that last year after, as we were going through the budget.
Yeah.
People said, I'm gonna send my kids to magnet schools and, went ahead and enrolled.
Right. Before the budget was, that
before it
was during
passed.
all the,
Yeah.
right. Yep.
so that was a bit of a surprise as that enrollment kind of shook out in September when the kids were
You look at the categories we can control, we put the budget together last year. We said there would be no new certified positions, no new teacher positions. And you can see we're holding right to that.
Right.
What we can't control is if an IEP says a child needs a one-on-one, that's the next line down. medical insurance is always volatile, but then you see the professional technical services, you see the student transportation, and you see the special ed tuition. And those are just things that we can put our best guess for what we know, but when things change, it's beyond our control. But, I applaud Karen for, you gamble every year on what natural gas, electricity, motor fuel, and other things are gonna be. And, she's on the money
Right
there.
on, right?
Mhm.
So, that's an educated guess. Staffing, teachers, we know, look, we did not add any, and with retirements and hiring newer people, we're seeing a little buffer there. But, those areas where we cannot control, those are becoming more and more volatile.
The state's gotta do something with that. I mean,
Well, and so with this, you'll see that Karen and I have budgeted much differently.
I saw that,
For
two
the
different
next year.
options, right?
Right, two different options, but even the first option reflects more of a reality than saying, okay, let's just throw spaghetti at the wall and hope that it sticks through the whole, through the whole year at this point. I hate putting a number down like 6.2, but the most realistic number is you should plan on 3 likely additional outplacements. And that's
So
an
you mean
extra
16?
percent.
Well, those are also in play right now. But it's whether or not,
Those 3 could happen before the end of the year.
yeah, they're sort of in process right now, but there just is not a happy solution. I think that you have to look at this as,
Plus, there's a wait to get into.
yeah, there's no.
3 more
nothing
on
is-
top of what we're looking at.
Yeah, so
here.
this number could change.
Yeah,
Drastically.
the thing is, there's nothing static anymore. It's taking, and there's not enough space in the schools, and finding the right solution, it takes a lot of time to find the right solution for these students that satisfies their need, meets their plan. The parents have to agree, and everybody has to agree to the final decision.
This has to be such a difficult thing for a whole bunch of towns in Connecticut. Is there any like, is CAVE doing anything to try to help? I mean, just the mental health portion, the whole, everything is just such a big topic. And it doesn't seem like we're getting any help from the state.
I sat around with a group of superintendents, our monthly meeting last Friday, and it's all superintendents from our area. Everybody's putting in budgets of 6 to 9% for next year, just
Because,
due to special ed costs. And everything is increasing, cost. You can't buy toilet paper and other supplies for the same cost. But that's manageable. What is not manageable is, just look at the change in outplacements. And, I'm not passing on blame, but, there was an opportunity for us with the Board of Finance last year. When we saw that insurance savings, my recommendation was, let's leave that in tuition. And should we not need it, we'll leave it there and we'll return it. But we need that buffer in.
They didn't do that?
In outplacements. No. Having an issue.
No, I'm just checking it.
Could you hear us?
My audio isn't that great on my computer.
Okay, because Alana and Bridget were in and they left.
Without this.
I was wondering where they went. Yeah, I logged in to see if I could.
so
make sure
yeah,
everybody was
pupil
submitted.
transportation, that's part of it.
I did admit them.
And
Yeah.
then you have this tuition line.
Okay.
I have the minutes if you really need them. Sorry.
Questions for Karen? Or me? I don't need to.
Right under that M and J bus, Karen, right under it.
I'm gonna duck out of the way.
I'm observing
Questions for
that.
Karen? No, questions for both of us.
You said that this bottom line number, the 593, is, it's not a solid number, it changes. What would change the number? What would change it for the better or the worse? What are we looking at? More or less outplacements is what? you're talking about?
That's it.
More.
That's a.
We're not necessarily looking at less outplacements. Where, if anything, we're looking at possibly a few more.
And I know you said this, but I'm just gonna clarify because it's gonna come up 8 million more times. 6.2 does not include not only the additional 3 that from this year, but anything, nothing. We're, 6.2 is really just where we are right now.
6.2 is for what we know now.
Right.
Exactly.
How, and that's how we've been asked to budget. What do you,
Yeah,
what do you
yeah.
have now? What do you know now?
But we also
Rod
know
and
that there's likely
Karen
a
are
few more
strongly
coming
suggesting, yes, that we could have 3 additional outplacements.
Whoa.
before the end of this year.
They're in process right now.
Process,
Which one?
but getting space is difficult, but we should anticipate them for next year.
So
Which
by
is
the
gonna
time
only
we get in
change
this year,
this.
it'd be a very.
Now,
Right.
just a reminder, since we have a Board of Finance guest in the room, that
Mhm.
legislation changed after our budget passed. In that we had to educate students, instead of releasing them at age 22 to other services, we had to educate them all the way to the end of the year in the year that they turned 22. And that was a roughly
Yeah.
about 300,000 of that tuition line.
On the current budget,
Of the current budget, yes.
and that legislation is impacted, that's in the 6.2 for what we know today.
Yes, so from now on, we know that anybody in our transition program, we could figure, okay, this student is gonna cost us this much till November when they turn 22. Now we're calculating all the way to the
Got it.
end.
All right,
But on the current year, our bottom line where we're at, that was a 300K hit.
Right.
right.
On top of additional,
Because we did have several kids who were turning 22 in like
It was,
October or
Right.
November, so you
yeah,
had.
it was the wrong year
huge-
for that to
You had a
go
huge
into
amount of
legislation.
time.
Understood.
And that keeps getting longer and longer. It used to be to age 21. Then they moved it to 22, and then they now moved it to the year past 22.
Well, the
you know,
state keeps passing the buck from them to us because most of these kids
most
go
of the
into
state
a,
programs,
they
right?
would go into a home that the state's responsible for anyway, so. Just keeps coming down our way.
Karen, did you use that spreadsheet I gave you and make any progress on the vans?
I did, I sent it back to you.
You did?
Yeah.
I've been sick
I-
for a long
oh,
time.
okay.
It's Causing my MS to flare up really bad. So I'll check my email.
Yeah, but that's only really a capital sort of an item.
Right, it's a capital thing. I
And
was just wondering if you looked at it.
I did, thanks. I revised it on another tab and, yeah, thank you very much
Is
for
it-
starting that.
Is it doable? Just, the upside, I mean, is it something that we can make some savings on?
We figured, and Alana and I spoke at the Capitol, we figured roughly $15,000 savings per van
per year.
per year. But I will tell you that there does not seem to be a lot of momentum for it in capital. And if I'm asked to prioritize, we do have other things, we have to, abate the asbestos out of the middle school hallway floors and we
We
have
did all
other
that
things.
already. I mean, that was done years ago.
No,
I remember going,
Sal, when the renovation of the middle school was done in when they added the common,
About 82.
80.
I'm not sure exactly.
they did not abate, and the state did not require abatement in renovation. Now the state requires, any renovation requires full abatement. But and I'm not,
So I remember it was a
Making
huge
insinuations.
deal way back when.
yes, and what they did was they put new floor over the asbestos tiling, so they kind of encapsulated it. However, now that the new floor is 40-something years old, it's dissolving, and we could put a 4th layer of floor on it, but I would not recommend that. I think we do a disservice to the community 40 years from now when they have this conversation that we're having.
But we figured that out to use the roof.
Yes, we're likely going to use the extra roof
So there
funds
was, so we had a savings on the roof
to do that.
funds.
Now,
So we're gonna
Augie,
take that hopefully. and do
that does all the hallways, but it does not do the classrooms. So we can get the hallways done. That's the high traffic area,
Yeah,
obviously.
yeah.
And the classrooms don't show the same level of deterioration as obviously the hallway would. And we did phase one of that last summer. And so hopefully we'll use that money. So that's not gonna be an expense to the budget this year, but that's, to me, that's our highest priorities, things like that. And we've got to start doing some HVAC work because there's new legislation from the state regarding indoor air quality. And it's a very stringent level of temperatures per classroom, per gyms and things like that. And every school is ill-prepared to handle that. Our high school will be in fine condition. Center school will be the most complicated because there's no, it's an old boiler system. You're not gonna be able to, without huge expense, add some sort of, venting in the HVAC. So while I would love to say, let's throw a couple of vans in, there's some real priorities that we have to get capital starting to add into their thought process.
Is there a payback they look at on capital if we're looking to do something that has a savings? Is there a time?
It doesn't seem like it, I mean, it's just what the
Cause that's what we're thinking, 4 years
customer service needs of
payback on the van.
parents.
Was there any damage to school properties due to this flooding incidents over the last couple of weeks?
No. In fact, the middle school successfully, the roof has held just great.
Job, Nancy.
There would have been 50
50
extra buckets for anybody. I was offering them to the capital committee. There's 50 extra buckets in our storage for anybody that wants some buckets, but the middle school roof has been intact.
Nancy Kohler Middle School.
Single-handedly.
I just hope maybe we could get some money from the state.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. The roof's held tight.
This is gonna be a tough sell.
I know. I know, when I look at, I mean, I can't even look at that number.
I know.
But if everybody else is putting out 6 to 9, then 6.2, you're doing pretty well, and I think we need
Yeah.
to push that too. It's not us, it's not 6 point, like, you gotta look at everybody else around, this is everywhere, this is out of our control.
And basically
2
that,
mills.
it's
Such
2
is
mills
life.
alone,
2 mills alone.
without capital, without.
That's gonna put us close to 40 without capital, without town. It's 2 mills on its own.
And we had that meeting where we went through what we're adding, where adding teacher positions through subtraction. So we're not adding any new positions. And most of the other things we're adding are either through grant funds or.
So other than the
Minor
83,000 that we talked about that was in that book,
Yeah.
right? Other than that, are you saying that is this a similar tagline as last year? It's this year's budget and next year's
This
prices?
year's budget, next year's prices.
And the 83 is what, the thing that
And the
we
83
talked
is the
about,
stuff that we talked
we
about,
talked about adding.
which is 0.02% of the
Yeah.
budget, so it's. It's just we're losing funding on certain positions that now get added to our budget, right? That's where
There's
the
one position,
math.
there's one specialist position, but I think based on the number of retirements that you're going to have, you should be able to cover that. Some of the retirements are gonna be costly, but other retirements, and when we talk about retirement, we have a series of steps that we hire people on. So new people come in at, step one, it's about 30,000 less than our top paid teachers. However, when certain people retire, like our French teacher is retiring, there's no young French teachers out there. We're gonna have to hire at the same level.
Okay.
But given science and what we know about technology and what we know about social studies, we should have some savings there, which will offset the addition of that math specialist.
What about, what are you? I don't know if that's fair to ask. We have 3 negotiations coming up, right?
You have 5,
We have 5 negotiations.
all
coming up,
non-certified, so cafeteria
For
work.
next
For
year.
concessions.
But that's still
custodians.
gonna affect,
We have
that
put a
number.
placeholder in there.
okay. You got some work to do, AJ.
Yes, it's tough.
It is.
You guys aren't the only ones coming in with numbers that are high.
And again, I mean, we don't want to continue to hang this on the backs of our special ed kids, but I think it's important for people to know that
That's
this is,
why
it's
It's just like what
not in our control.
boggles my mind over the presidential elections recently, like with the healthcare the way it is, that's not even, no one's talking about that. And that affects every home so much every year with your healthcare going
Yeah.
up 20 to 35%. And it's not a top, like nobody, they just throw it under the rug. And this kind of thing, I don't, with all, there's a whole bunch of small towns in the state. This has to be a huge impact on a lot of people, and it just doesn't seem like it's a topic in Hartford.
Well, I would argue that we've done everything we could to control expenses more
Yeah.
than most.
I mean, you know, this is a
Yeah,
slide that
I'm just
I'll
saying,
show you
it's-
on Monday, the 22nd, but look at page 23 in this book for a minute. And I credit Rod and Karen for this, but that if you look at our Steps and Stars program, 2 internal programs that are 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Without those programs, our cost would be $3,857,000. And this year, we're gonna recognize doing it in-house 1.8 million. Now, 1.8 million alone, that's a
Huge.
chunk, but were we to not have that program, it would be 3.8.
Yeah,
And then the STARS program, and the STEPS program is for our students with autism or other disabilities associated with an autism. Our STARS program is for our challenged students emotionally and behaviorally. But once again, we're seeing a 1.5 million savings by doing that in-house, but those 2 programs alone this year are costing us close to $3 million or just, $2.7 million.
You mentioned to me before, we have a sweet spot of a number of outplacements that we take in-house. Have you considered looking into that to see if we can expand that, bring in more to make it more savings?
Yeah, the problem, Sal, is our STARS program and our STEPS program is really bursting at the seams. And we could say, let's start an additional STARS room, but most of the students who are not in STARS really do need to be outplaced. We're not looking at, bringing students back who must be outplaced. There are students who, even within our STARS and STEPS program, could not be internal. But internally, they are operating at their max. We could say, okay, maybe it's time to start another one, but I'm not sure in our buildings we have the space to do that right now.
is this what you're presenting
Yes,
Monday night? Okay.
yes. I'm gonna read it one more time for any spelling errors or factual errors. Shelley's gonna start the mass production of those before the end of this week.
Leave it on the plane,
Yes, take it with you.
Vegas. And I'm doing dry January, so just
Oh, good.
smack me now.
But what happens in Vegas,
I
Listen.
can't, I know, my wife's using child psychology on me, I know you're gonna fail, I know you can't do it, and it's making me, I'm doing it just to prove you wrong. So it's her child psychology.
come back from Vegas and say, you're right.
I know. Hopefully night 1, I can say, honey, I failed, we're done. Anything I know, Paul's got a meeting in 14 minutes, so.
So please look through this book if you have any questions before Monday. Anytime you want to sit down and have a cup of coffee with me, we're going through this, page by page with the board on Monday night, the 22nd.
Okay.
But I'd be happy to sit down with you and answer any questions you have about this. Karen will have, by our first meeting in February, the big thick line by line budget book. This is like my, marketing materials and,
It's a good one, but it's also-
return on investment and, just letting people know that here's what we're using, your budget money is going towards the right things.
And please, please take him up on that.
Yeah.
Cause you're gonna have some interesting meetings on your side of the fence.
Yes.
So at least I would appreciate giving the effort and coming in and asking these guys for questions,
Yeah.
because I'm not sure others do, so.
I plan on carving out the time for all the meetings that you guys proposed. I want to
Great.
understand this one. It's our biggest line item.
Yeah, thank you.
It's worth
I agree.
understanding.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It-
So it looks like
Trust
you've
me,
chosen
I know you
from the
got it.
budget requests,
Yep.
certain line items.
Yes, I have.
Okay, and then we'll discuss, because there's some of these that I might want.
Sure. Yep, that's what your meetings in January, February are for. Yep. Would somebody adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Do you want to quick get this
Oh,
out of
yeah,
the way
can-
or not?
Right there. Aren't you the only voting members?
Here's the-
Sal-
this-
or
this-
Sal-
These are the minutes from the
Or
last
he's not a
meeting.
voting member?
Yes,
And
he
we
is.
need-
He's on it now. This is wrong.
Oh,
This should be Sal.
That,
Yeah.
that long time ago.
Yeah, that was our last meeting.
These are your.
oh, that's
quarterly
why he's
meetings.
so old. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So can I get a motion to approve the minutes from September 21, 2023?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
I haven't really read
Or any
that.
discussion?
Yeah, there was no votes, it was just discussion, so.
And
Good enough.
adjournment?
Did you motion to adjourn? She
Sure.
motioned to adjourn,
Yes.
Sal,
Motion.
Sal
adjourned. Yes,
seconded it.
Got it.
Okay,